afternoon to you. Now, the Southern African Development Community Organ on Politics, Defense and Security concluded its fact-finding mission in Eswatini on Sunday. This was for preliminary engagements with the government and civil society representatives, including church groups, the Law Society, trade unions and the Human Rights Commission. The mission was led by International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor and Botswana Minister Lemogang Kwape, whose President Mlunguisi Makhanya currently chairs the organ. Joining us now to share some perspective on the outcome of the visit is the President of the People's United Democratic Movement, Mr. Mlunguisi Makhanya. Very good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you for your time. Perhaps let's start here. Were pro-democracy activists and organizations such as yourselves given an opportunity to perhaps speak to the SADC delegation before they left for Eswatini?
A very good afternoon, Thami, and to the listeners and viewers of your station. Let us start by saying that there was no indication or invite that was extended to us as the political parties or even civil society stakeholders in Eswatini around the coming in of this SADC fact-finding mission. What actually happened is that we learned later in the day that there was a secret meeting that was taking place in one of the King's hotels, and we immediately decided to dispatch leaders who reside closer to that venue to go and bulldoze their way into the meeting and raise our deep disappointment around the exclusion. Unfortunately, we were able to arrive just as they were about to leave, and we did express ourselves. And to be honest, they were quite shocked that they had been misled by government, that they had brought in some people purported to be stakeholders, and they turned out not to be true. But yeah, the people of Swaziland are quite upset that this so-called fact-finding mission came here, made no attempts to reach out to the real stakeholders that are involved in the current statement.
Now, our understanding is that the King was also supposed to be part of this mission. Did that meeting actually happen with the King?
Well, I'm not sure if the meeting with the King happened, but as far as we're concerned, the King was part of this interaction, because remember, we don't have a government in this country. The government is the King. So it's the King who decides who constitutes the executive. But just to give you a quick run of some of the people who were in attendance so that your viewers can get a sense of how this thing was a joke. I mean, there was the King's son there who was purported to be representing the Minister of Defense, despite the fact that the Chief of Defense was there and made an input. There was the King's brother who was representing the Minister of Home Affairs. There was the King's brother-in-law who was brought in, and it was said is representing civil society from faith-based organization. And there was the acting Prime Minister's son who was brought in and said to be representing the Law Society. So all they did, Thami, was that they organized royal liches and circumference and made them to come there and claim these were representatives of civil society. But our disappointment is less with this government, because this is an illegitimate government. This is a murderous government. Our disappointment is with the SADC fact-finding mission, because we believe that even a desktop research around the political dynamics of Swaziland would have given them the names and the contact person of relevant stakeholders in Swaziland, that they should have made attempts to make sure that they inform them about their coming to Swaziland.
So you're saying that this SADC delegation and the fact-finding mission was, for all intents and purposes, a farce. Had you, as a pro-democracy activist and other relevant stakeholders, had you been given the opportunity to make a presentation that would inform part of what SADC was going to be presenting, what is it that you would have highlighted in those presentations?
Well, in the absence of any terms of reference around their visitation here, we would have obviously first and foremost insisted on taking them to the families and the victims of the atrocities that are continuing to be unleashed by Mswati's military men on the ordinary citizens. We would have taken them to hospitals, we would have given them a dossier that contains not just the names, but the images and the conduct of all the relatives of the more than 60 people who have lost their lives. We would have showed them images of all the injuries of the people who were shot at indiscriminately. But more than anything, we would have referred them to the hundreds of Swazis who are incarcerated, who up to now are being denied legal representation. You know, Thami, this morning our lawyers had to make an urgent application for one detainee who's due to go for delivery tomorrow, who's heavily pregnant, that has been in police custody ever since she was arrested on Wednesday. And this is the type of regime that we're dealing with here, a murderous, heartless regime that has no regard for human life. That is what we would have told them. But more than anything else, we would have then shared with them what is it that we believe as the political parties and civil society at large ought to be the solution out of this quagmire.
And so what now is the way forward? The SADC has come and gone. Their mission ended yesterday. What do you see as the way forward?
The way forward is very easy for us and the people of Swaziland. It is the intensification of the struggle. We are going to be intensifying our action. If SADC is serious, and when it's serious, they are going to find us on the streets where we have been. If they have to kill us, they must kill all of us. But there's no turning back from where we are. Our people are determined to bring an end to real supremacy. Our people have been suffering for too long, and we have reached a point where we fully appreciate that our own future is rightfully in our hands, and we are not going to let this moment to slip off our hands. We are certain that victory is certain.
Mr. Makhanya, thank you very much for your time and your insight in this regard. The very disturbing situation that continues to unfold in Eswatini. He is the president of the People's United Democratic Movement.